Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillah wa kafa wa salatu wa salamu ala man la nabiyya ba'da amma ba'd. As the Shaykh Rahmatullah alayhi describing death, he mentions, he continues, he says that when an angel of death appears to a person, we started it last week and we stopped halfway through. And then he describes the way that the angel of death appears to a person who's pious. He says, Malakul Maut ऐसी नरमी से बाहर करता है जैसा कि माँ अपने बच्चे से करती है. That the Malakul Maut, the angel of death, when he appears to the pious person, he speaks with such softness in the way that a mother speaks to a child. इस वजह से कि उसको ये बात मालूम है कि ये रूह हक़ तआला शान के यहाँ मुक़र्रब है. Why? Because he understands that this ruh, this soul, is close to Allah Almighty. वो उस रूह के साथ लुत्फ़ से पेश आता है, with gentleness, it presents itself to this person. ताकि हक़ तआला शान हो, इस फरिश्ते से खुश हो, so that Allah Almighty may be pleased with the angel. और वो बदन में से इसी तरह सहूलत से निकलती है जैसा कि आटे में से बाहर निकल जाता है. And it comes out of the body with ease, in the way that the ruh comes out of the body in the way that a hair comes out of flower. जब रूह निकलती है तो सब फरिश्ते उसको सलाम करते हैं. When the soul comes out, then all the फरिश्ते, all the angels make salam और जन्नत में दाखिल होने की बशारत देते हैं. Give glad tidings that you're entering into paradise. जिसको कुरान पाक अल्लज़ीना ततवफ़्फ़ाहुमुल मलाइकतु तय्यबीन आयत में जिक्र फरमाया है, which Allah Almighty describes in the verse I've just recited, कि अगर वो मुक़र्रब बंदों में होता, that if he's one of those slaves of Allah Almighty that are close to Allah Almighty. To Surah Waqi'ah, in the Surah Waqi'ah, there's a verse about this, in which Allah Almighty says, فَرَوْحٌ وَرَيْحَانٌ وَجَنَّةُ نَعِيمٌ. But जिस वक्त रूह बदन से जुदा होती है, so at the time when the soul comes out of the body, तो वो बदन से कहती है, says to the body, कि ताला शानो तुझको जज़ाए खैर दे दे, may Allah Almighty reward you. तो अल्लाह ताला की बंदगी और इताअत में जल्दी करने वाला था. You were a person who obeyed Allah Almighty and you were quick to be obedient to Allah Almighty. उसकी नाफरमानी में सुस्ती करने वाला था. When he came to disobedience to Allah Almighty, you were slow in this. तुझे आज का दिन मुबारक हो. Today is a blessed day for you. तूने खुद भी अजाब से नजात पाई. You also saved yourself from punishment on this day. और मुझे भी नजात दी, and you also saved myself. और यही मजमून बदन रुखसत के वक्त रूह से कहता है. And this is the topic that the soul also says to the body at the time it leaves. जिसकी जुदाई पर ज़मीन के वो हिस्से रोते हैं. And when the body leaves, then when the ruh leaves, then the zameen, the ground, all of the parts of the ground, all the parts of the earth, जिन पर वो अक्सर इबादत क्या करता था, where he used to mainly worship Allah Almighty, he starts crying as well. आसमान के वो दरवाजे रोते हैं. The doors of the heavens also cry, जिनसे उनके आमाल ऊपर जाया करते थे, from which his actions would go up, और जिनसे उसका रिस्क उतरा करता था, and from which his risk used to come down. इसके बाद वो 500 फरिश्ते मय्यत के पास जमा हो जाते हैं. Then it says that 500 angels gather around this person. और जब नहलाने वाले उसको कुर्बत देते हैं, when they put him inside the mortuary and to wash him, and then they turn his body round to wash, तो वो फरिश्ते फ़ौरन उसको कुर्बत देने लगते हैं. Then all of these angels also participate in turning the body round. और जब वो कफन पहनाते हैं, when he's dressed inside the कफन, तो उससे पहले, the shroud with which he's then put into the body is placed into a shroud before he's buried, तो वो फ़ौरन अपना लाया हुआ कफन पहना देते हैं. Then they have also brought kafan with themselves, shroud, and they also dress this unseen shroud with the body. जब वो खुशबू मलते हैं, when the people washing the body put itar and खुशबू and some sort of fragrance on the body, तो वो फरिश्ते उससे पहले अपनी लाई हुई खुशबू मल देते हैं. Then before they're able to do that, the angels also put their fragrance onto the body. इसके बाद वो उसके दरवाजे से कब्र तक दोनों जानिब किताब लगाकर खड़े हो जाते हैं. And after this, up from that door of the place where the body is being washed right until the grave, what they do is they make a line on both sides. इसके जनाजा का दुआ और इस्तिग़फ़ार के साथ इस्तेमाल करते हैं. And then when the body is brought, when the bier is brought, when the janaza is brought, they make dua and istighfar and they welcome the body like this. ये सारे मंजर शैतान देखकर उस कदर ज़ोर से रोता है. And shaitan sees all of this. He cries heavily कि उसकी हड्डियाँ टूटने लगती है. So much so, he is crying and screaming that even the bones in his chest break. और अपने लश्करों से कहता है, and he says to his people कि तुम्हारा नाश हो जाए, woe unto you, तुमसे किस तरह छूट गया, how was he able to avoid you? वो कहते हैं कि ये मासूम था, this person was मासूम, and he wasn't able to do any mistake. इसके बाद जब मलकुल मौत उसकी रूह लेकर ऊपर जाते हैं, after this, once मलकुल मौत takes the soul up, तो हज़रत जिब्राईल अलैहिस्सलाम 70,000 फरिश्तों के साथ उसका इस्तकबाल करते हैं. जिब्राईल अलैहिस्सलाम welcomes him with 60,000 or 70,000 angels, and ये फरिश्ते उसको हक़ ताला शाम की तरफ बशारत देते हैं, and all of these angels they give glad tidings. इसके बाद जब मलकुल मौत उसको अर्श तक ले जाते हैं, and after this when he takes him to the arsh, तो वहाँ पहुँचकर रूह सजदा में गिर जाती है. Then the रूह falls into prostration in front of the arsh of Allah Almighty. And then अल्ताशानों का इशारा होता है कि मेरे बंदे के रूह को फी सिद्र मखदूद व तलहिम मंदूद में पहुंचा दो. And then he says that he mentions the verse of the Quran Kareem that take my ruh to sidr makhdud and talh mandud, जब उसकी नाश कब्र में रखी जाती है. So that's what the soul happens. What happens to the body in the grave? So when it's placed in the grave, तो उसकी नमाज की दाई तरफ आकर खड़ी हो जाती है. The namaz comes to the right side. रोज़े बाई तरफ, रोज़ा and fasting to the left side. कुरान पाक की तिलावत, अल्लाह का जिक्र सर की तरफ खड़ा हो जाता है. The recitation of the Quran and the dhikr of Allah to his head. और जमात की नमाज को जो कदम चले हैं वो पाँव की तरफ खड़े हो जाते हैं. And the steps that he's taken in order to perform prayer with Jamaat inside the masjid, they come and stand by his foot. और मसाइब पर वो गुनाहों से सबर कबर के एक जानिब खड़े हो जाते हैं. And the difficulties that he had, but he did sabr upon all of these things. He shall stand inside the grave at one place. इसके बाद अज़ाब उस कब्र में अपनी गर्दन निकालता है. And then punishment, he puts his head inside the grave. और मुर्दे तक पहुंचना चाहता है. And he wants to go to the person who's died. लेकिन वो अगर दाई जानिब से आता है, if he comes from the right, the नमाज उसको कहती है कि परे हट, move out of the way. एक शख्स खुदा की कसम दुनिया में हमेशा मुशक्कत उठाता रहा. This person, I swear by Allah, in the dunya, he did a lot of difficulties. अभी ज़रा राहत से सोया है, he's sleeping with some comfort now. Let him be. फिर वो बाई जानिब से आता है, then the punishment comes from the left side. So the first says to him कि move away. वो सर की तरफ से आता है, he comes from the head. The tilawat and the recitation of the Quran, the dhikr comes and says go away. Or he says that this is not your way. गर्ज वो जिस जानिब से जाना चाहता है, the purpose is that whichever way and direction he wants to come to the body, उसको रास्ता नहीं मिलता. The azab and the punishment isn't able to enter. इसलिए कि अल्लाह के वली हर जानिब से इबादतों ने घेर रखा है. Why? Because the ibadat that he did, all the different types of worship has protected him from all sides. वो अजाब आजिज होकर वापस चला जाता है. That azab and that punishment which he might have accumulated for some sins, it becomes hopeless and he goes away. इसके बाद सबर जो एक कोने में खड़ा था, after that patience, and his sabr to do patience on ibadat and to abstain from sins. He was stood inside one corner. In इबादतों से कहता है, he says to this ibadat कि मैं इस इंतज़ार में था कि अगर किसी जानिब इबादत की किसी किस्म की कमज़ोरी से कुछ ज़ौफ़ हो तो मैं उस जानिब मुज़ाहमत करूँगा. It says that I was just watching all of you and seeing how you protect him. And if there was any weakness in the way you protect him, then I'd come forward and I'd fill the gap. मगर अल्हम्दुलिल्लाह कि तुमने मिलकर उसको दफा कर दिया. But alhamdulillah, all of you together have come together and you've protected him. अब मैं आमाल तलने की तराजू के वक्त उसके काम आऊँगा. Now I shall come in use for him at the time when his amal shall be weighed on the day of judgment. And then the story continues. Inshallah, we'll continue next week. As the Shaykh Rahmatullah alayhi here is describing what happens after death. Sometimes we think that life is very short. Life is very long, and then our hair is going to grow white, and then we're going to become old. We might see old age. We might even reach to our pensionable age. Sometimes we think that life is just going to move very fast, very slowly. You know, right now I'm in my teens, I'm in my 20s, 30s. But the reality is that life can come to an end anytime quickly. And we've just heard last week on the weekend, a person who was going his day-to-day job, driving, nice person it seems, a taxi driver, head-on collision with another car, with young boys, 18 years old, 19 years old. That night they got into their car, they didn't think that they were not going to come home. And he didn't think he wasn't going to come home. But the reality is that life is just like that. You never know when it could happen. You never know when Malakul Maut will come and take us away. And our dua should be, and our effort should be, and our energy should be, that when Malakul Maut comes and the angel of death comes, it comes at a time and a place that we're in the worship of Allah Almighty. We're in the best and the prime of our life in terms of our connection and ta'alluq with Allah Almighty. And that He comes at a time when all the hukukul ibad, the rights of human beings that we have on our shoulders, we fulfill them all. And when it comes to hukukullah ta'ala, all the rights of Allah Almighty, all the qaza namaz, the fasting, sajda sahwa, zakat, hajj, and everything else in terms of our dealings, all of that is nice and clean. And there's nothing there inshallah left. And that we've drawn close to Allah Almighty through our ibadat and worship to a point that Allah Almighty, we can put our hands up and say, Ya Allah, take me away. Can we actually say this at this moment in time? Can we say hand on heart that we are at that position that Allah Almighty take us away? And we're ready to come in front of you, and we've got the confidence that we are able to sit the exam and say that everything's right. I don't know if we are. But at the end of the day, we have to still make an effort. And we have to try. Today should be better than yesterday. And yesterday should be better than the day before. And tomorrow should be even better than that. But then sometimes what happens is, we sometimes slip. Yeah? So when you slip, or your lace gets undone, what do? You throw your shoes over the wall and pick up another pair of shoes. But you stop there. You pull your socks up and you tie your laces. It's like the guy that walks out of the masjid and he comes to the steps over there, but then he slips and he trips. And the whole masjid is watching him. But what does he do at that point? He gets back up quickly and he starts walking as if nothing happened. Or he might just act like as if it was just part of the show. Yeah? So likewise, sometimes in life, we also make a mistake. We also slip. Then what do we do at that point? Do we then grovel in our difficulty and focus on our negativity, or do we quickly, like the guy who slipped when he's coming out of the masjid, get back up and pretend nothing happened? Yeah? And he walks again with a spring in his foot. That's the way our life should be. Allah Almighty gives us the tawfiq to understand that, and give us the tawfiq and understanding to connect to Allah Almighty and make our today and our tomorrow better than yesterday, and enable us to have hearts that are enlightened and connected with Allah Almighty. Inshallah, be zikr now, and then we'll carry on after that. Subhanallah wa bihamdihi, subhanakallah wa bihamdik, shadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa natubu ilayk. Somebody could switch the light off and concentrate. The zikr takes place. If you want to talk, there's a place outside. Quite easily go there. It's a bit distracting, inshallah. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Qul huwallahu ahad. Allahu samad lam yalid walam yulad. Qul huwallahu ahad. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. La ilaha illallah, 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 la ilaha illallah. La ilaha illallah, 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 Muhammadur Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. La ilaha illallah, la ilaha illallah, la ilaha illallah, la ilaha illallah. La ilaha illallah, 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 Muhammadur Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. La ilaha illallah, la ilaha
إلا الله لا إله 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 إلا الله سيدنا ونبينا وحبيبنا وشفيعنا وسندنا ومولانا محمدا عبده ورسوله صلى الله تبارك وتعالى عليه وعلى آله وصحبه وأزواجه وأتباعه وسلم تسليما كثيرا كثيرا لا إله إلا الله 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 محمد رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم لا إله إلا الله 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 سيدنا ونبينا وحبيبنا وشفيعنا وسندنا ومولانا محمدا عبده ورسوله صلى الله تبارك وتعالى عليه وعلى آله وصحبه وأزواجه وأتباعه وسلم تسليما كثيرا كثيرا إلا الله 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 لا إله إلا الله محمد رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم الله 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 Allah, 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 La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah sallallahu tabarak wa ta'ala alayhi wa ala آله وصحبه وأزواجه وأتباعه وسلم تسليما كثيرا كثيرا. Inshallah we'll carry on next week. Assalamu alaikum.